The wind howled across the slopes of Ebony Mountain, carrying with it the bitter scent of rain and earth turned to mud. Even in the early morning, before the sun had fully risen, the mountain seemed alive, watching, waiting, whispering secrets it had held for centuries. At the foot of its jagged cliffs lay Ashmere Vale, a village as old as memory, where stone cottages leaned against each other like old friends, and smoke from hearths curled upward in hesitant spirals, reluctant to disturb the heavy fog. It was in Ashmere Vale that Elara and Thomas first met, not in the warm bloom of spring, nor in the frivolity of summer festivals, but on a bleak November morning when the rain had made the cobblestones sleek and children ran for cover beneath straw-thatched eaves. Elara, with hair as dark as raven feathers and eyes that caught the sunlight like drops of honey, had been sent to the market by her mother. She was careful and precise, accustomed to the small silent rules of the Vale. Thomas, tall and wiry, with hands callous from working his father's forge, was delivering iron hinges to the blacksmiths. Their meeting was nothing extraordinary, merely a brush of shoulders, a shared laugh as Elara slipped on the whetstone, but it would mark the beginning of a love both fierce and doomed. From that day forward, their lives entwined. They walked through the Vale in silence and laughter, sharing secrets they would never speak aloud. Thomas loved the way Elara's brow furrowed when she was thinking, and she loved the fire in his chest, the way his mind always reached farther than his hands could shape. Yet, as the villagers would whisper behind closed doors, the mountain itself seemed to frown upon their union. The elders said that Ebony Mountain had long memories. It was said that those who sought happiness at its base risked awakening shadows from the past, shadows that hung not in the clouds, but in hearts. The first sign came subtly. Elara began to dream of a woman in a dark gown, her face veiled, her hands stretched toward the lovers. She would whisper, words heavy with both warning and accusation. Greed, pride, desire, beyond measure, it will cost you. Elara awoke in a sweat, shaking, the early sunlight spilling onto the cold stone floor of her room. Thomas, when she told him, only laughed, brushing it aside as superstition. But the dreams persisted, growing more vivid, more urgent, and soon the whispers found Thomas. It began with the arrival of Lord Harrington, a newcomer to Ashmere Vale. He was wealthy, charming in a practiced way, and had eyes that lingered on Elara longer than politeness allowed. He offered her gifts, a silver locket, a ribbon dyed in rare indigo, a small porcelain bird that seemed to breathe in her hand. Thomas's brow furrowed at each gesture, but Elara, confused and flattered, accepted them. She did not know the allure of Harrington's attention, the subtle pull of pride against the tether of her heart. One evening, under the orange hue of a sinking sun, Harrington cornered her near the edge of the vale, where the forest met the mountain's dark slope. "You are remarkable," he whispered, voice smooth as river stones, "and you deserve more than the forge boy. You could have a life of splendor, influence, and freedom. Why limit yourself to mediocrity?" Elara's heart raced. The words tasted like wine, sweet, intoxicating, dangerous. "Thomas, he is everything to me," she said, almost convinced herself. But the seed of doubt had been planted. The mountains seemed to sigh that night, an almost audible exhalation, and in her dreams, the veiled woman appeared again, now with tears staining her dark gown. "Do not let pride blind you, child," she said, voice trembling. "The mountain remembers, and it judges." It was not long before the first betrayal occurred. Thomas, busy with the forge and the needs of the village, grew distant. Elara, wrestling with feelings of curiosity and temptation, met Harrington in secret. They spoke softly, laughed lightly, and for the first time she felt the intoxicating thrill of choice, the dangerous exhilaration of stepping beyond what was safe and known. But every stolen glance, every whispered word sent tremors through the fabric of her life. Then came the night of the fire. The village celebrated the harvest festival, torches dotting the cobblestones, children screaming in delight, music spilling from the inn. Thomas and Elara walked together, hands brushing, hearts entwined. Yet Harrington appeared, a shadow moving through the crowd, and in that moment, Thomas's pride fled. He accused Elara loudly, words cutting like steel, and the villagers turned to stare. Hurt and anger surged, and in the chaos, a spark leapt from a careless touch to the thatched roof of the inn. Flames consumed the old building in minutes, and for a fleeting second, all seemed lost. Thomas, Elara, Harrington, and the Vale itself, caught in a whirl of fire and smoke. In the aftermath, Thomas blamed Harrington. Elara blamed herself. The villagers whispered that the mountain had cursed them, and indeed, the shadow of Ebony Mountain stretched long and cold over the Vale. It was that night the veiled woman appeared in Thomas's dreams. "You have let pride and fear guide your heart," she said. "The mountain is patient but not merciful." Months passed and the lovers' union unraveled. Elara, racked with guilt and shame, withdrew from Thomas. Harrington, sensing weakness, returned with promises of comfort and escape. Thomas, embittered and jealous, grew reckless, wandering the slopes of Ebony Mountain, seeking the source of the whispered malediction. There, in the deep caves of the northern ridge, he encountered the spirits of the mountain ancestors of the Vale, long departed, their forms flickering like candlelight in shadow. "You come seeking answers," the spirits said, their voices a chorus of sorrow and warning. "Pride blinds the heart. Greed poisons the soul. You wished to possess what cannot be owned, and now the curse lies upon you." Thomas, shaking, fell to his knees. "How can I undo it? I love her. I would do anything." The spirit's eyes glimmered. "Redemption is possible, but only through sacrifice and truth. Only the purest act of selflessness can lift the shadow of greed and pride." Meanwhile, Elara had made a choice. She fled Harrington's charms and returned to the Vale, seeking to mend the broken threads of love she had so carelessly frayed. She found Thomas on the mountain's ridge, standing before a crumbling stone altar, the wind tearing at his coat and hair. I went to the mountain," he said, voice raw. "I begged for mercy, for forgiveness, but it is not enough." Elara stepped closer, ignoring the cold and the looming cliffs. "We made our choices, Thomas. I failed too. But perhaps together, we can make the mountain remember something else, something of love and truth and sacrifice." The spirits descended then, their forms twisting in the mist. "The curse," they intoned, "can only be broken if one of you offers your life willingly for the other." Thomas turned to Elara, horror in his eyes. I cannot ask that of you." "I will not ask it of you," she said, her voice steady, though tears burned her eyes. "I am the one who let pride and desire sway me. If this is the price, I will pay it." And so she stepped forward onto the precipice, arms outstretched, the wind carrying her form as if it might bear her away. Thomas lunged to hold her, but the spirit's glow surrounded her, lifting her into a radiant cocoon. There was a flash of light, a roar from the mountain, and then silence. Thomas fell to his knees, heartbroken, grief-stricken, the weight of his mistakes pressing down like the stone of the mountain itself. Days later, the villagers found him at the edge of the ridge, staring at the fog-shrouded summit. He spoke only once. "She saved me, and perhaps herself, too. Greed, pride, desire, these are the true causes. May we all remember." Years passed. The Vale healed slowly, the inn rebuilt, children playing once more in the cobblestone streets. Thomas remained a quiet shadow of the man he had been, tending the forge, speaking softly of the mountain and the lessons learned. And sometimes at dusk, when the wind whistled through the cliffs, the villagers swore they could see a dark-haired woman atop Ebony Mountain, smiling, a locket glinting in the fading light. She was not there to hunt, but to warn and to remind that love, truth, and selflessness could overcome even the darkest curse if only one had the courage to choose them. The ancestral spirits, watching from the mist, whispered their final judgment. Greed and pride can curse even the purest heart, but sacrifice, love, and truth, these endure beyond the reach of shadow. For ace endure beyond the reach of shadow. And so the legend of the cursed lovers of Ebony Mountain lived on, a tale told by firelight, a cautionary song of passion and folly, of human weakness and divine grace. The cursed lovers of Ebony Mountain, a tale of love, betrayal, and a curse that even the purest hearts could not escape. Elara sacrificed everything to break the shadow that pride and greed had cast over her world. But the mountain still whispers, and its secrets are far from over. If you felt the thrill, the heartbreak, the mystery, there's so much more waiting for you. Every tribe, every legend, every shadow hides a story that could change the way you see the world. Follow Folktales of Many Tribes now and step into the forgotten myths, the haunting secrets, and the stories that refuse to be forgotten. The mountain is calling. Will you answer?